Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas from Exolvate Games team and welcome to a new C++ Unreal Engine 5 tutorial. Today we have reached the final stage, part 7 of creating Spatial Inventory System. In this episode we will wrap up the drag and drop logic and implement the item rotation feature. Additionally, if there's enough space in the inventory, the system will attempt to rotate the item to see if it can be picked up in that rotation. I believe that covers everything, so let's get started. Okay guys, welcome back to part 7 of making Spatial Inventory System. This is also last part of this small course. In this part we're going to wrap up the drag and drop logic and also we're going to create some of the additional features that I have mentioned before. So yeah, let's begin the work. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is basically go to our inventory grid widget.header. Here below protected we need to declare a new override function. That override function is going to return a value that will be a type of boolean. Okay, so that function is called native on drop, and we need to pass in some of the parameters that I'm just going to copy and paste from my other project, and you need to pause this video and basically type those parameters. Okay, if you want to learn something more about this native on drop function, you can basically find the documentation that is on the internet. Okay, so original UF5 documentation for this function right here. And the next thing that we need to basically do is create a definition for that function right here. Okay, so create a definition, and we are going just to move that function down there. This native on drop function is basically going to get triggered whenever we drop something on our inventory grid widget. In this situation, it will be an item that we want to drag and drop at a specified place. Okay, so yeah, whenever we drop something on our inventory grid widget, our native on drop function, override function, is going to get triggered. So we need to delete this return, and the first thing that we are going to do is basically check if our payload is valid or not, or basically a data of the item that we are dropping. Okay, and also we are going to use this payload as a reference for our cast to the item to actually know what item we are basically dropping on our inventory grid widget. Okay, just type a item base because our items are a type of an a item base. Okay, and we are going to call it dropped item. Okay, and like I said, we need to cast to the item that we have dropped. Okay, and also, like I said, we are going to use this payload as a reference for our cast. The next thing that we are going to do is basically check if our dropped item is valid or not. Okay, and we are stopping here for now because the next thing that we need to do is declare a new function. Okay, that function will be called isRoomAvailable for payload. So basically, whenever we are dropping our dropped item to a specified place, we are checking if there's enough space at that specified tile or space. Okay, and if there's not enough room for our item, it is going to basically try to add the item at the first free space for our item. Okay, so you get to the point. If you don't, you will see later what I mean by that. And let's go to our inventory grid widget.header and declare a new function that is going to return a value that is a type of a boolean, and like I said, that function is called isRoomAvailable for payload, and the only parameter that we need to specify will be basically an item. Okay, so item, and now we need to create a definition for that function right here. Okay, first thing that we need to do is to check if our item is valid or not, and if it's valid, we are going to return something. Okay, and if it's not valid, we are just going to return false. So the default behavior of this function is basically to return a false boolean. Okay, but if our item is valid, we are just going to return inventory component, and now from the inventory component we need to get isRoamAvailable function. That isRoamAvailable function needs two values. So the first one is an item that we are adding, and the second one is top left index. Okay, so basically, okay, so we need to pass this item in, and the second one is basically top left index. So from the inventory component we are going to get the index, or actually let me see, tile to index function. Okay, so this function right here is converting the tile to the index, or basically the xy coordinates to the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and etc. So basically to an integer, and basically the top left index is basically converted, dragged top left tile, actually top left tile, okay, dragged item, actually top left tile. Okay, so we are converting this dragged item top left tile into index. Like I said, we are converting the xy values to integers. Okay, and basically this dragged item top left tile, we are later going to do some of the calculations. So whenever we want to drop our item, we are doing, like I said, some of the calculations that with our mouse position, and we are checking if there's available room at that specified place, that at that dragged item top left tile. Yeah, for now I assume that you're a little bit confused, but you're going to see a little bit later. So let me just summarize again what we have did here in this isRoamAvailable for payload function. Okay, so we have declared that function, and we are going to use to basically check if there is available room for the item that we want to drop on the place that we want to drop it on. Okay, so we are basically doing in these few lines of code right here, and like I said, this dragged item top left tile. In that dragged item top left tile, we are going to do some of the calculations, and we are going to store the basically the coordinates, or basic coordinates where we want our item to be added. Okay, but before that we are checking if there's available room for that item. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is basically here in the native on drop, and actually I think that we can basically just delete if that we can delete this check right here, because we are already doing this check right here. So because we are going to pass in this dropped item, and we are checking if that item or basically this dropped item is valid or not, and we are going to call this isRoamAvailable for payload function. So that is basically the same. I'm going to delete this check that we had in our native on drop function. Okay, so now we need to do a check. We need to get this isRoamAvailable for payload, and we need to basically pass in this dropped item. Okay, and okay, so let me see, and if basically there is an available room, we want to, from the inventory component, we want to get a function that is called add. Okay, and we want to add basically the dropped item, and we want to get this. Okay, so this right here, and we want to add that at that specified index. So Like I said, and I'm going to say it again, I'm just trying to explain it as much as I can because I want you to basically understand it, what we are doing here. This dragged item top left tile is basically a place where we want to drop our item, okay? So, and before that we are checking if there's available room at that place before we're actually adding that item at that place, okay? So, because we don't want to add some item on the top of another item. Okay. The next thing that we are going to do is basically declare this dragged item top left tile. So let's go to our inventory grid widget header, and here below protected we just need to type f int point. Okay. So this f int point is basically two integers. Okay. So you get the point. F vector 2d is two floats, and the f int point is are two integers actually. Okay, and the red line will disappear, but actually we are getting this red line right here, and let me just compile my code. Let's see what's wrong. Okay, see. Dragged item non-static. Okay, so I assume that we need to set this function to be a constant. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's do that right here too, and the red line actually disappeared. Okay, so cool. And let's basically okay, so let's basically compile our code again, and we are getting this error right here. So basically we need to import this class right here. So in order to use this class right here as a reference, we need to import that. So just type class, and then not that but a item base. Okay, add item base, and now let's compile our code again to see if there's any errors, and there is actually native on drop, and because that's basically because here we are not returning anything, but now I'm just going to comment this, and I'm going to compile, and if you take a closer look, now we are still getting an error because it needs to return something. I'm just going to return true. So it is basically I'm doing this in order to show you that actually our code is working, but it is going to show, or basically it is going to fail because here we still we didn't basically returned anything. We don't have the return values that we need because it is a native on drop native override function that is basically needs to return a value that is a type of an boolean. Okay, so you get the point. Don't get confused by this by the error that you can get in compile. Okay, so when you're compiling actually. The next thing that we need to do is basically create or basically declare a new override function. Okay, so I'm going to do that here below this native on drop function, and that function is also going to return a value that is a type of a boolean, and that function is called native on drag over. Okay, so in this function right here we are going to calculate our dragged item top left tile, or basically the place where we want to drop our item. Okay, and we need to pass in some of the parameters. I'm going to copy and paste them from my other project, but if you want to learn more about them, so just find the documentation for that function right here. Okay, and I'm getting this red line, so native on drag over. Okay, so now let's just create a definition for that function. Okay, and the first thing that we are going to do is basically delete this return. We are going to check if payload is if payload is valid or not. Okay, so payload so if it's valid, we are basically going to declare a new variable, so that new variable will be an item that we are dragging. So like we did here, we are just basically casting to an item that we are dragging. Okay, so we are going to use this payload as a reference. Okay, and we need to type cast. So the class that we're casting to is an item base, and we are going to use this payload as a reference. Okay, to for our cast to the item that we are currently dragging. And basically the thing that we need to do now is calculate the mouse position whenever we are dragging over our inventory grid widget. Okay, so just type f vector 2d, and the first thing that we need to declare will be screen position. Okay, so equals, we need to get this in drag drop event. Okay, and we need to type dot get screen space position. Okay, and we need to declare a new variable that will be a local position. And maybe it is better to declare those variables inside our inventory grid widget.header, but never mind. I suggest you to do that right now. Okay, so now we need to declare this local position. We need to get this in geometry, and we need to basically type absolute to local, and we need to get this screen position, and we need basically semicolons on the end. So let me just print a simple string because I want to show you what is this local position. Here we are creating, or basically we want to get the mouse position, or basically the cursor position. Okay, so I'm just going to print a string of this local position, and let's just type -1, 5 seconds. The color will be, let's say, red, or basically let's do something unusual. So let's set the color of our print string to be emerald, and we now need to type f string print f. Okay, inside that we need to type text, and we need because this is an f vector 2d, we need to type percent point to f, and let's just type like here, like this, x and y. Okay, percent points to f, and here we need to get the local position, so dot x and local position dot y. Okay, so let's compile our code, but we are going to get the error here inside our native on drop. So here we are just going, let me see, here we are going to return the return true. Okay, and if our payload is not valid, we are going to return false. So just do like that, and let's see if there's any errors, and there is, because here in the native on drag over we are not returning anything. So the thing that we are going to do is basically here, if our payload is valid, we are going to return true, and if it's not valid, we are going to return false. So now I hope there's not any error. Okay, and now let's just launch my Unreal Engine, and yours too, don't forget it. Okay, so if we basically open my inventory, pick some of the items, and basically just drag it in the top left corner, you will see that here I'm getting basically the coordinates whenever I'm dragging over my inventory grid widget. So if I basically drag over my inventory widget, you will see that our print strings will disappear and our override function is not getting triggered. But if I do that over my inventory grid widget, or basically over my spatial inventory, you will see that we're getting the latest values of basically the mouse position. But something is actually wrong about our mouse position. But for now, I'm not going to fix that. I'm going to fix that later with an example in order to show you, and I think that you're going to understand it better if I show you an example. Okay, so let's close this for now. And for now, or basically the next thing that we need to do is here we need to initialize our dragged item top left tile. But before that, we need to do something. So I'm going to cut this video for now, and I'm going to record the thing that we need to do next in my other project, because I want to give you an example what we are going to use it for. Okay, so here we are in my other project where I have created this system previously. I'm going to begin the simulation, open my inventory, and I'm just going to pick one of my items. So the thing that we need to do now is basically to calculate the dragged item top left tile, or basically that is a place where we want to drop our items. So just like I did here, so I wanted to drop it here, and we have succeeded, or basically I have succeeded with doing that. Okay, before that we need to do something in order to get the behavior that we want. So we are going to create a function that is telling to us if the mouse is in the top left, right or bottom side of the tile, because in that function actually we are going to convert the mouse position in a tile where our item is basically going to be dropped. So let me give you an example. If I basically drag one of my items, and basically if I point my cursor to one of my tiles, if I point somewhere above the center, you will see that our item is going to be added here. And if I point somewhere below the center of our tile, you see that our item is going to be added here at this place. So yeah, you see, if I just if I'm above the center, our item is going to be added here, and that's the thing that we need to do in order to calculate our dragged item top left tile. So let's do that right now. Okay, so now let's do what we have started. Okay, so let's now basically create a function that it is going to check if our cursor is pointing above the center of that specified tile, or below, and etc. Okay, and basically that function is going to return two booleans. And in order to get the function that is returning two booleans, so we need to create a structure that will store two booleans, and then we need to create a function that is returning that structure that we have created. So let's go to our inventory data structs.header. Okay, and here we are just going to copy these f lines, and we are going to paste it like this. We are going to name it f mouse position in tile. Okay, and here for the constructor we are just going to retype f mouse position in tile. Like I said, it is going to have two booleans. So one will be for right and left, and the second one will be for up and down. So whenever the down is false, it is up, and whenever the right is false, it is actually left. Okay. So now let's go to our inventory grid widget, and let me see my other project. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is basically create that or basically declare that function. Okay, so let me see where we are going to do that. Okay, so here below this is room available for payload. We need to type f mouse position in tile, and I'm going to name it, let's say, mouse position in tile result. Okay, and the parameter that we need just to pass in will be f vector 2d mouse position. Okay, so basically the mouse position, we need to create a definition for that function. And the next thing that we need to do is basically go back to our inventory grid widget.header, and below, or actually above our declaration of our mouse position in tile result function, we need to type f mouse position in tile. So we are just going to declare a variable that will be a type of f mouse position in tile, mouse position in tile. Okay, and let's go to our inventory grid widget.cpp, and we are going to return that mouse position in tile. Or actually, we can just name it a result. Nah, maybe just mouse position in tile. It makes more sense. So we are going to return that. Okay, but before that, we need to get basically that mouse position tile dot. The first thing, we need to get the right, so mouse position in tile dot right. Now we need to basically mod the mouse position by the tile size from our inventory, and basically the way we are going to mod is so let me just show you. Okay, so mouse position and then inventory component dot tile size, or actually minus greater tile size. So if you take a closer look, we will get this red line right here below our percent sign. So basically mod. Basically this is these are two, and here we need the mouse position dot x. These two are the floats, float values, so we cannot just mod by typing mouse position dot x mod, or basically percent inventory component tile size. We actually need to get a function that is called fmod. Okay, fmod, and then first we need to specify mouse position dot x, and the second one needs to be inventory component tile size. Okay, and if you remember, this dot right is a boolean value, so we need to check if this mod right here is greater than basically. So let me just type inventory component tile size divided by 2. So we need to check if this modded value between mouse position x and inventory tile size is greater than inventory tile size divided by 2, and we need to do that also for our down, but here we need the y value. So I mentioned, I think, I don't know in which part, but I'm going to say it again. This x part is basically the horizontal. If you basically imagine the 2D coordinate system, you have x and the y line. The x line is basically the horizontal line, and the y line is basically the vertical line. That's the reason why we are using the x value of mouse position for the right and left, and the y value of mouse position for the up and down. So yeah. Okay, and let me just see in my other project. Okay, so now let's go to our native on drag over function. Now we need to basically declare a new variable that will be a type of fint point, and I'm just going to name it something like result tile maybe. Okay, so I think that makes sense. And the next thing that we need to do is basically create local variables for these two, so right and down from the mouse position in tile structure. Okay, so we need to type a bool, and the first one is down. I'm just going to basically type a bool, then down, and this underscore sign. Okay, so equals mouse position in tile result. Okay, dot right. Okay, or actually dot down. So just like that, and here we need to pass in this local position, and we need to do that for our right. Okay, so right underscore local position dot right. Okay, and the next thing that we need to do is basically check if our right is true. So we are using the power of truthy and falsy values. We are going to get this result tile, and we need the x value of that result tile. We need to type equals fmat. We need to get a clamp function from that fmat, so clamp. Okay, and if our right underscore is true, we need to get this dragged item. From that dragged item, we need to get the dimensions. And we need to get the x value of those dimensions, and we need to basically type -1. We need here now 0. So basically we need a minimum value that we are clamping this value right here, and we need the maximum value. So the minimal value will be 0, and the maximum value will be this right here. So just copy and paste it like here, drag the item, get dimensions -1, and if this right is false, we are just going to copy and paste this line of code right here, but without -1. So yeah, it is just going to be the default. Okay, and we need to do that for our down variable. Okay, so here we just need the y values. Okay, or actually, yeah, actually we need the y values. Okay, here we need the y. Okay, and the y, and also here we need the dot y and dot y. Here also we are checking if down is true or false and not right. And the last step for now is to basically calculate our dragged item top left tile. So now we need to type dragged item top left tile equals f int point. So we are creating a new int point that we are going to subtract by the value of this result tile divided by 2. Okay, so we need to subtract int point with int point. Okay, so inside that new int point, we need to basically type fmat shrunk to integer 32. So basically a function that is converting float to an integer. Okay, and we need to get this local position divided by the tile size from our inventory component. So tile size, and here we need the local position dot x. Okay, and for the second we need basically just to change here dot y. Okay, dot y, and on the end we need just to subtract this result tile. Okay, we need to subtract result tile divided by 2 and semicolon on the end. Not right here, but right here. And I think that actually, okay, so actually I think that now we can test it out. And basically I want to show you the problem why we can just use this local position. So previously we have basically we have write this line of code right here that is showing us the coordinates of our mouse, or basically the mouse position. Okay, but there is something wrong with this local position, and let me just show you what it is. So if I basically begin my simulation, pick one of my items, and basically drag it, you will see that we are getting some values, but I didn't mention that those values are actually wrong. So yeah, if you take a closer look, I want to get the 0 and the 0 coordinates of this inventory, okay, and that 0 and 0 coordinates needs to be here. So let me just drop it here in this point right here, okay. But actually now if I drag my item and point to that point with my mouse cursor, you will see that our values, or basically our coordinates, is nothing near to a 0, so that is something that is wrong. And basically if I drop that item, you will see that our item has disappeared. So basically the reason is that our mouse position is wrong, and we need to start calculate the coordinates from this point right here. So you get to the point, and when we drop our item, it is just adding at that tile, so doing the calculations with the wrong coordinates, basically that we do not want. So let's go to our code editor, and the way we are going to fix that is basically here we are going to declare a new variable. So f vector 2d, we are going to name it grid starter coordinates, and basically we are going to get the starter, or basically we are going to get the starter coordinates of this grid border right here, because this grid border right here is filling, or basically it is the same size of our inventory, okay. So yeah, basically just by using this grid border we can get the 0 and the 0 position from that, and that is basically our starter coordinates that later we are going to subtract with our local position, okay. So f vector 2d grid starter coordinates equals, we need to get the grid border, okay, and when we need to get cached geometry. So where it is, here it is, okay. And from that cached geometry we need to get local position at coordinates, and we need to get basically coordinates that are 0.0f and 0.0f from that grid border, okay. So you get the point, and we need to declare a new variable that I'm going to call adjusted position, and like I said, it is basically going to be the local position subtract with actually grid starter coordinates, okay. And now we need to get this adjusted position and change those with local positions that we are using here, okay. So just change those okay, here, here, and here for our print string, because I want to show you what are those coordinates now, okay. So let's compile our code, and let's after that launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, yeah, I showed you a thing about this. That is an example that I have been waiting for to show you. Basically, if you're getting the wrong mouse position values, you're not going to get the right calculation for your dragged item top left tile. And also I explained you why we need the starter coordinates of our grid border in order to get the right coordinates of our inventory. So yeah, maybe it is not a great example, but sometimes any example is better than nothing. So yeah, let's go now to our Unreal Engine. Let's begin our simulation. And if I try to pick my items, okay, so actually one of my item, and if I try to drop it somewhere, or actually before that I want to show you that now if I point with my item at this point right here, I can get it to a 0, 0, but I can point something near with 0, 0. Basically it is showing now that this point right here is starter point, and it is starting from 0 and 0 in the X and the Y. And now if I try to drop my item, let's say here, you will see that my item is added here. So okay, that is something that we do not want, but something also that I want to show you. Now I'm going to pick another AK. You will see that another AK-47 is added at these 10 tiles right here, but actually if I basically pick another of my item, you will see that our AK is added here. So the visual representation, from the visual representation we are getting that bug, and that is something that we do not want. But here, if you remember, we have dropped our item here at these 10 tiles, and now when we have dropped our item, these 10 tiles are occupied by that item. So our item is not shown yet. We are going to basically fix this bug right here and add the implementation for adding the visual representation of the item that we are dropping at that specified place. Okay, so all that I just want to say is that in the backend our item is added correctly, and yeah, so cool thing. So now let's go to our code editor and fix the bug that we have. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is to create a new function inside our inventory component .cpp. So let me just go into my in my second or basically older project. Okay, so that function is going to be a function that is going to refresh our all items array. So let me just go to my inventory grid widget.cpp, and here in the refresh function, if you take a closer look, you will see that we are getting the keys values from that all items map, and we are doing some stuff with that. From that all items, we are getting the tile where that item is going to be added. And so now it's very important to listen to me, because this is a little bit confusing. Okay, so try to imagine a situation where you have picked that item, and then you have stored it inside your all items map, and then you have basically just moved it in a different spot, so there's not any function or anything that basically is going to change that value, or basically that tile, or basically second value of our map. Okay, and yeah, so now we need a function that is basically going to empty our all items map, and then refresh or basically add all new items, old and new items, to refresh the all items map. So I hope you understand me. If you don't understand something, or if anything is unclear, feel free to comment down below, and our team is going to help you. Also, you can now reach to us throughout Discord server. So yeah, join our Discord server. It is the link to our Discord server is in the description of this video. So yeah, okay, let's go now to our inventory component .header, and we need to declare a new function. So it needs to be below public, because we are going later to call it inside our inventory grid widget.header. Okay, so just type void refresh all items. Okay, and now let's just create a definition for that function. The first thing that we are going to do is basically get all items, and we need to empty that all items. Okay, the next thing that we need to do, or actually I'm just going to copy this and paste it, but we are going to delete this and delete this also. So we are checking if item at that specified index is valid or not. Okay, so if it's valid, we need to declare a variable that will be f_int_point_tile, or actually we are not going to do that. We are just going to type all items dot add. Okay, so it will be this item at that specified index. Okay, and basically index to tile, and that will be this index right here. Okay, so now don't forget semicolon on the end. That is very important. So now we have created this a refresh all items function that is going to refresh the values or basically the second values of our map. Okay, so let me just show you. That is this right here. So fint point type of a value that we are storing in that map right here. And now if we go to our inventory grid widget.cpp, and here above this add item function, we need to let me see. Okay, so we need to get inventory component, and we need to we need to call refresh all items function, and now we can test it out and hopefully get the behavior that we want. Okay, so now let's just launch our Unreal Engine. And now if we begin my simulation, if we try to pick one of my items and if we basically try to drop it, you will see that our item is now dropped. So yeah, we have did incredible work for now, but the next thing that we need to fix is this thing right here. So I have basically picked one of my items, and I have moved it in some place that I want, and now I'm just going to pick up my grenade. Let's say grenade, why not? And now I'm going to basically move my AK again, and you will see that my AK now converted to the grenade. So that is something that we do not want. So let's go to our code editor and fix that in a moment. Okay, so the way we are going to fix that is basically here in the inventory grid widget.header, we are going to declare a new boolean, and it needs to be below the public. Okay, so just type boolean and then dropped. Okay, so let's go to our inventory grid widget.cpp, and whenever we basically drop an item, we want from dropped to be true. Okay, so to be true, and before that we are going to give it a default value of a false. So now here below this check, so we are going to do that below this is room available for payload check. We want basically to set it to true whenever it gets passed by everything. Okay, so whenever it gets passed by this check. Okay, so now let's go to our grid inventory character.cpp, and whenever we pick a new item from the ground, we are going to initialize our dropped boolean to be false. Okay, so we are going to set it, and we can do that by typing inventory component, and then we can get basically, I don't know how I named it, so let me see. Inside my inventory component.cpp, I have named it inventory grid widget reference. So we have created this function earlier. So throughout that function we are getting the inventory grid widget reference. Okay, so we can get the inventory grid widget reference, and we can get basically the dropped, but we are getting this red line. Basically we need to include the inventory grid widget. Okay, so here just type hashtag include inventory grid widget. Okay, and the red line, I hope that it is going to disappear, and yeah, it actually disappeared. So we are just going to set that dropped to be false. Okay, so now let me see, let's go back to our inventory grid widget.cpp, and let me just again check if everything is all right. Okay, and the next thing that we are going to do is basically make this variable that we are declaring here public. So for now it is basically a local variable. So if you take a closer look, it is just a local variable. So the thing that we are going to do is basically declare that variable inside our .header file. So it needs to be below our public, okay? And I'm just going to declare it here, semicolon on the end, don't forget that. And now the next thing that we are going to do is basically go to our item widget .cpp, and here inside our native construct we need to basically check if our dropped boolean is true or false. So the way we can get that dropped boolean is throughout our character reference, and then throughout our inventory component, where we are going to get the inventory grid widget reference, and we are just going to get that dropped. But before that we need to include our inventory grid widget. So inventory grid widget, and the red line will disappear. So if it's true, we are just going to call this refresh function to not be called by the item that we are basically picking up from the ground, but the item but the dropped item that we have declared here. So let me just go to my inventory grid widget. So this dropped item right here, yeah, okay. So now let's go back to our item widget.cpp, and the same way we have got our dropped, we are going to get that dropped item. Okay, so dropped item, and now hopefully I think that we have now fixed our problem. So let me just compile my code, and after that I'm going to launch my Unreal Engine. Okay, so here we are in our Unreal Engine, and if I basically pick one of my items and move it, you will see that everything seems to be alright. If I pick one of my items, oh, actually I didn't mean to do that. So okay, so I have picked one of my items, I have picked this grenade, and if I move my AK again, it will actually again convert to grenade. So I have did something wrong. Okay, so the thing that I have did wrong is basically here we need else if. Okay, so we need else if. Let's just compile code and run our Unreal Engine. Okay, so now let's just pick an item, let's move it somewhere. Let's pick a grenade, and if I move it again, and yeah, you will see that now we have fixed the bug that we have had, and now we can just basically pick our other items. So that's a cool thing about that. Let's just move it here, and now we are going to be able to pick our last item that we have on the ground. So yeah, we have fixed the bug. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is basically go to our inventory grid widget.cpp, and actually I'm going to launch my Unreal Engine in order to show you what we need to fix. So basically there's another bug that we need to fix. Okay, so if I basically pick two items and basically try to drop an item on the top of the item, you will see that our item has basically disappeared. So that is not something that we want. Okay, so here when we are checking if we have available room for payload or not, if we do actually, we are basically adding that item at that place that we want, but we didn't implement it if we don't have enough space at that place for our item. So we are just going to type else. Okay, so if this is room available for payload is basically false, we are going basically to do a check, and the check that we are going to do is basically we are going to try add item at the first free space in our inventory. Okay, so it is going to take basically an item that we want to add, and If we have enough space, we are just going to let me see. I think that yeah. So let's just call our refresh function, okay? And if it's not, so if basically if the room is not available at that specified place, and also if there's not room for our item to be added at the first free space, or basically if there's not any room for our item, we are basically going to drop it in front of our character. Okay, so let me just get some of the code for dropping the item on the ground from inventory widget.cpp, I think. So let me find it here. No, I'm going to search it here. So here it is, inventory widget.cpp. And I'm just going to copy these few lines of code and go back to my inventory grid widget.cpp. I'm going to paste it, and here I'm just going to declare this to be a local variable, and hopefully I think that now this is going to work. Okay, and I'm still not sure if we here need a refresh function or not. Okay, so I'm just going to comment it like this. I'm going to compile my code, and I actually think that we don't need a refresh function, because when we are trying to add that item, we are calling this add item function, add item add, that is basically setting this added item to true, basically. And when that added item is true, in the event taking the inventory component.cpp, it is going to call the refresh function. Okay, so I think that actually we don't need that refresh, that calling of our refresh function. So let's just launch our Unreal Engine and see what we did. Okay, so let's just for now, let's pick two items. So let's drop one of items here, and I'm going to drop the second item on the top of this one. And actually, we are getting this bug right here. Okay, so now we need to fix it. And actually, I know what is the problem. So basically, here we need to refresh all items. So just refresh all items when we are trying to add that item. Now let's compile our code, and let's just basically launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so now if I pick again two items, and basically we are actually still getting the same issue. Okay, so that is not something that that I wanted. Okay, so okay, so after a little bit of looking into my code, basically I have made a mistake. So this refresh all items, basically we need to refresh our all items map, even if our try add item function is returning the false. So yeah, above these checks we need to basically refresh all the items. Yeah. Okay, and the thing that I'm going to do is basically I want to avoid this empty if check. So I'm just going to do something like this. I'm going to copy and paste that. And here I'm just going to check if our triad item function is returning false. And yeah, if it's returning false, we are just going to drop our item to the ground. And even if it's false, we are going to refresh our all items map. So yeah, now let's test it out, and let's basically after that launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so if I basically begin my simulation, pick two of my items. I'm just going to drag one of my items here, and I'm going to drag this second item on the top of this first item. So yeah, if you take a closer look, our item is going to be added correctly. And if I take this item right here and try to add it on the top of this item, you will see that it is going to basically to try to add item at the first free space in our inventory. Okay. Basically, if we, so I'm just going to decrease the size of my my grid inventory, and I'm going to check if it's going to drop the item if we don't have any free space for that inventory. Okay, so for that item, actually not inventory, I'm mistalking a little bit. I'm just going to set it something like this. Okay, so compile, not like that, but I'm going to decrease it even more. So let's compile it and save it. I'm just going to now I'm going to pick one of my items. I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to pick another item, and I'm going to basically try to basically drop that item into my inventory, and it is not added. And if you take a closer look, our item is basically dropped on the ground. So yeah, we have did it. And if I try to pick it up, we don't have enough room for that item. But if we try to pick the less sized items, or basically the items that needs basically the one column and the one row, in this situation it will be grenade, and we have enough room for that grenades. We are going to be able to pick those items up. So yeah, that's a great thing that we did. So the next thing that we need to do is basically to create a logic for basically rotating our items in our grid inventory. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is basically go to our item base.cpp, and the first thing that we are going to do is actually go to our .header file. Here we need to declare a new function. So that function will be for getting the rotated icon. So get a rotated icon. Okay, and here we need to declare a new variable. So it will be for our rotated icon. Okay, we need to create a definition, and in that we're just going to return this rotated icon. Okay. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is basically declare a new variable. Okay, so we are going to do it here below protected. So it will be a boolean, and it will be is rotated. Okay, and basically we need to create let me see my other project. We need to create a function. So okay, it is going to return a type of value that is a type of a boolean. Okay, and now we are going to name it get is rotated. Okay, and now I'm going just to create a definition for that function, and that function is going to return this is rotated boolean. Okay, and the next thing that we need to create will be another, or basically declare is another function. So it is not going to return anything. It's going just to do some stuff, and like I said, it is not going to return anything. It will be a function that is basically rotating our item. Okay, so now let's just create a definition for that function, and here we basically need to check if our get is rotated, or actually we can get this is rotated here because we are in the same class. Okay, but maybe I can just use this get is rotated, why not? we already created a getter function for that, and why not to use that function. Okay, so we are just going to okay, so now for now we are just going to use this is rotated, and later when we need to basically get is rotated in the other files, we are going to use this get is rotated function, because in order to basically get the value, we are going to use this get is rotated, and in order to set it, we need a setter separate function. So never mind, we can in this class, this is the same class, so we can use this protected variables. Okay, so if is rotated is true, it is going we are going to set it to be false, and if it's not true, we are just going to set it to be true. Okay, and the next thing that we are going to do is here in the get dimensions, we need to check if our we need to check if our is rotated is not true. So if it's not true, we are just going to return the basic or basically the normal dimensions. And if it's true, or basically if our is rotated boolean is true, we are just going to return an if f int point. Okay, so it will be this dimensions y and dimensions dot x. So the thing that we have did here is basically we switched the places of our dimensions. So the x value of our dimensions is now in the place where the y value of our dimensions was, and the opposite process. Okay, so yeah, now the next thing that we need to do, and I think that we have did all the work in this item base. So now we need to go to our inventory grid widget.cpp, or actually we need to go to our inventory grid widget.header. And now we need to declare a new override function. Okay, so we are going to do that here below protected. And here below this mouse position in tile result function. Okay, so let's just type f reply. Okay, f reply native on preview key down. Okay, and it needs some parameters, so I'm just going to copy and paste them. You just need to pause the video and basically type them. So if you want to learn something more about this function, you can find the Unreal Engine 5 documentation about this function right here. Okay, so let's just create a definition for that function, and basically the default return that it is going to return will be basically super native on not that nat. Let me just copy and paste this, and we just need to pass in this in geometry and this in key event. Okay, okay, so that is a default return if nothing is returning before that. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is basically from this in key event we are going to get the key, and we are going to check if the key that we are clicking is let me just see, key is R, so R for rotate. Okay, and basically we are just for now we are just going to print a string. So add on-screen debug message -1 5 seconds. Color will be, let's say, red, and the text will be R is clicked. Okay, and basically we are going to return basically from the f reply We are just going to get the handled. Okay, so that means that we handled this function. Okay, so let's just compile our code and let's wait a little bit. After that, we are just going to launch our Unreal Engine. So now let's just launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so now if I basically begin my simulation, pick one of my items, and basically and if I basically drag my item and click the R, we are not actually going to print a string, and I think so basically we need to do another thing before testing it out. So we need to set is focusable to be true. Okay, and another thing that we are going to do is basically just delete this print string right here. Okay, and now let's finally compile our code, and now let's launch it. Let's launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so now if I pick one of my items, drag it and click R, again we are not printing the string, but let me see something. If I think that this B is focusable, we need to basically set it to true to be in our native on construct. So we are going to do that here. Okay, and now I think that it is going to work. I think that this is focusable needs to be set to true inside our native construct. Let's see if I'm right. And yeah, many times I'm not sure about if it's going to work or not. So now let's finally test it out. And yeah, actually now it is working. Our print string is basically showing, and now we can implement the rest of the logic that we need. We are just going to delete this print string and this return right here. So the next thing that we are going to do is basically, let me see, inside our native on drag over function, we have declared this dragged item, and we need to declare it to be a public variable and not a local. So we are just going to declare that dragged item inside our .header. So it is going to be below the protected. Okay, and here we need to basically check if our dragged item is valid or not, and if it's valid, we are just going to rotate, basically to call the rotate item function. Okay, and basically the next thing that we need to do, we have basically rotated our item, and we have did it with the backend, but we are not doing that with visual representation of our items. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to do one thing. So let's go to our inventory grid widget .header, and we need to declare a new override function. Okay, so just type void and then native on drag enter. Okay, and it is just going to be all right. I'm just going to copy and paste some of the parameters that we need to specify. And now let's just create a definition for that function. I'm just going to type super and then native on drag enter. I'm just going to pass in geometry, in drag drop event, and this in operation. Okay, so now we need inside of this function, we need to declare a new drag drop operation. So we need to type u drag drop operation, and we are going to name it drag operation. Okay, and we need to cast basically to u drag drop operation, and for the reference we are going to use this in operation. Okay, and basically now we are checking if our cast has succeeded. and if it succeeded, we need to store this drag operation inside the public variable. Okay, so let's go again into our inventory grid widget.header, and now I'm just going to type or basically declare a new variable that will be u drag drop operation, and that will be stored drag operation, stored drag operation. Okay, so just like that, and inside our .cpp we're just going to type stored drag operation equals this drag operation right here, and now we need to go back to our native on preview key down function, and we need to check if our stored drag operation is valid or not. Okay, and if it's valid, we are just going to cast to our item widget of the current item, or basically we want to cast to the visual representation of the current item that we are dragging in the moment. Okay, so basically we need to declare a new variable that will be a type of view item widget, but before doing anything we need to include our item widget. Okay, and now we are just going to name it visual dragged item. Okay, equals, like I said, now we need to cast to the item widget of the current item that we are dragging in the moment, and the reason why we are getting that drag operation is basically to get from that stored drag operation we need to get the drag visual. Okay, default drag visual actually, and yeah, basically we need to get that, and we are using that as a reference to our cast to our item widget, and in order to get the item widget that we want, we need a default drag visual of the item that we are currently dragging, and now we are checking if our visual dragged item is valid or not, and the next thing that we are going to do is basically get this visual dragged item, and we need to basically call refresh function, but there's not any refresh function. I assume it that is because this below the protected, and yeah, it is actually. So I'm just going to set it to be below public. Okay, so below the public, and now if I go back to my inventory grid widget.cpp and basically call my refresh function, and for this item to add, I'm going to pass in just this dragged item. Okay, and here we are just going for from the f reply we are going to return handled, so that means that our function is handled. Now finally I think that this is going to work actually, so let's just compile our code, and after that launch our Unreal Engine. Okay, so now if I pick one of my items and basically click an R, yeah, you will see that our item is actually rotated. We are getting this weird icon, but we are going to fix that in a moment. And now if you take a closer look, we don't have enough space anywhere for our item that is currently rotated to be added. So now if I basically drop it, you will see that we don't have enough space, and our item is going to be dropped on the ground. So now let's go to our code editor and fix the icon bug that we are getting. Okay, so basically we need to go to our item widget.cpp, and in the line of code where we are basically getting the icon, we need to check if our boolean or basically boolean inside our item base.header, or basically boolean that we declared inside our .header file of our item base function, is rotated is true or false. Okay, so we are going to get this item, and from that item we are getting is rotated. So we are going to get the function that is called get is rotated, and if it's rotated, we are basically going to copy this line of code and paste it below this if check, and we are going to get a rotated icon. Okay, so we are getting this, or basically we are getting the rotated icon of our item. So that get rotated icon function is returning this rotated icon. So yeah. Now we need to compile our code and go to our Unreal Engine in order to create those rotated icons. And later we need to set them up inside the child classes of the item base class in order to create the default icons for our rotated icons for each item. So the first thing that we are going to do is open our content drawer. Go to our inventory files, then open icons folder, then material icons, and here we are going to create a separate folder. I'm just going to name it rotated icons. Okay, and I'm going to copy and paste all of these material instances of our icons. Okay, and I'm going to paste them here. So basically I'm just going to rename them. I'm going to name this mi_rotated_knife. I'm going to delete grenade because the grenade is 1x1 size of an item, and it don't need to be rotated. Okay, so for the AK I'm just going to give it a name mi_rotated_AK47. I'm going to basically open it. And for the icon rotation, I'm going to basically type -0.25. Okay, so, and for our knife, I'm going to pass in the rotation to be -0.25. Okay, and if you take a closer look now, you will see that our items are now our rotated icons are actually now rotated. And now we need to get a path, copy file path, so we need a path to that icon. Now we need to go to our IB_AK47. Let me just go into my other project. Okay, so basically I'm just going to copy and paste like that. Okay, so the next thing is to basically copy these few lines of code, and I'm just going to paste those few lines of code, and we need to basically get this rotated. So let me just, okay, so now I can basically delete that comment. And I'm going to delete this .u asset. So now we are getting the different path of our rotated icons. And here I'm just going, instead of an item info. Why actually I named it item info when it needs to be item icon? Okay, so item icon. I don't know why, but I actually misspelled it. So item icon. Okay, and here I'm just going to name it to be a rotated icon, and we need here to check if our rotated icon has succeeded. And here we need to specify or basically to initialize our rotated icon to be the object of our rotated icon. And actually, let me just see how I named that variable inside our itembase.cpp. Okay, so rotated icon, and okay, so basically we have two same names. I'm going to name it icon rotated. Okay, and the red line now is going to disappear. So now we need to do that with our IB underscore knife. Okay, so here I'm just going to paste those few lines of code. Here I'm just going to get the mi underscore and the not that actually, but okay, so mi underscore rotated underscore knife. Okay, and I'm just going to here fix this item info to be item icon. Okay, and this icon rotated is pretty alright. And the next thing that we are going to do is basically go to our IB underscore grenade dot cpp and I'm just going to fix this item info to be item icon. Okay, here we can basically type rotated icon equals item icon dot object. Okay, so by this we have we are not going to create the separate rotated icon for our IB grenade. We are just getting the same icon, the normal icon for our grenade. And basically I think that that's it for now. Now let's just compile our code and let's go to our Unreal Engine. Okay, so let's just test it out. If I begin my simulation and basically pick one of my items, let's say AK-47, and basically rotate it, you will see that yeah, our icon of our item is basically getting rotated. And if I click it again, you will see that our AK-47 is basically getting into normal rotation. I'm going to drop my AK-47 and basically pick my knife. If I basically if I click my R button, it is going to rotate it. If we try to pick my AK-47, we are going to have enough room for our AK-47. And if I try to pick my grenade and rotate it, you will see that every time that I click R, it is going to be in the normal rotation. So yeah, it is getting the normal icon of the grenade, even if we are rotating it. It is basically the one by one item, so it is not going to do some changes. Okay, so now let's go to our code editor and do the next thing. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to implement inside our spatial inventory is basically logic behind adding the items from the ground to our inventory. So basically adding the items when we don't have enough room inside our inventory for that item, then our program is going to check if we can then pick that item when that item is rotated. Okay, so maybe sometimes we cannot pick that item from the ground in the normal rotation, but we can pick it up from the ground in the when it's rotated. So yeah, you get the point. If you don't, I'm going to show you in a moment what I mean by that. So it's not a big deal. We just need to go to our inventory component .cpp, and here for our try add item we need to do some change. Okay, so basically we need to delete these two returns. So here below this for loop, so when our code gets passed by this for loop, we are just going to basically get this item to add, and we are going to call the rotate item function. So basically if this didn't find a place for our item that we are adding, we are just going to rotate our item, and again we are going to basically try to add that item at that index. Okay, so if after rotation, if didn't find a place where our item can be added, it is going to just back to the original rotation. So yeah, we are just going to copy this line of code right here. We are going to paste it, and we are going to return false. And also, if our item to add is not valid, we are also going to return false. So just like that. And now we can basically compile our code, and something is not right. Let me see what it is. Okay, so here we need just semicolon. Now we can compile our code and launch our Unreal Engine after that. Okay, so here we are. I'm just going to decrease the size of my or actually I'm going to adjust the size of my inventory. So let's go to third person, then blueprints, and then third person character. Open full blueprint editor, and here in the inventory component I'm going to set the size to be a size of 3 columns and 6 rows. Okay, so now if I open my inventory, you will see that for the normal rotation we don't have enough room in our inventory, but if I try to pick my item, you will see that our program is going to rotate it in this direction, or basically it is going to rotate it in this rotation like you see right here, and yeah, it is going to add that item as rotated inside our inventory. So yeah, that is another cool feature that we wanted inside this spatial inventory. So let's now close Unreal Engine, and finally we can basically the last thing for this entire course. But before doing anything, I'm just going to cut the video and go to my other project where I'm going to show you the last feature that we need to implement inside this system that we are making. Okay, so here we are in my other project. I'm just now going to show you what is that last feature that we need to implement. So if you take a closer look, I'm just dragging my item, and you will see this green, basically this green color on the tiles that our item is basically supposed to be dropped on. Okay, so yeah, basically that's the thing that we need to implement. So that is some kind of validation if we basically can drop our item or not. So I'm just going to drop it, and it is going to be green on the place where we can drop that item on. But if I try to basically drop some item on the top of the other item, you will see that now that background color is red, and yeah, basically we cannot drop that item. So yeah, that's the thing that we are going to do right now. Okay, so now when I showed you what we need to basically create, let's do that. So let's create, let's go to our inventory grid widget .header file actually, and here below protected we need to declare a new variable that will be a type of a boolean, and that will be the name that variable is going to carry will be drop location. Okay, drop location, and basically we need to go now to the inventory grid widget .cpp, and we need to initialize that drop location. So let me see in my other project. Okay, so the first place where we are going to initialize our drop location is let me see here in the native on drop override function. We are going to type drop location location equals to true, and also we need to initialize it to be true. Let me see in my other project. There's a lot of information, so I need to basically check my other project. Okay, so yeah, you get the point. Yeah, and now we need to go to the function that is called the native on drag enter that we have declared previously, and we are just basically going to initialize in that function our drop location to be true. And another time when we so basically the time when we are going to declare it to be false will be in another override function. So that function will be native on drag leave. So let's go to our the .header file, and here we are just going to type void native on drag leave. Okay, and we need to basically here type override, and we need to specify in some parameters that I'm just going to copy and paste from my other project. Like I said, every time you can, if you want to learn something more about this function, you can basically just search for original UF5 documentation. So now we need to type super native on drag leave, and we are just going to pass in this in-mouse event and this in operation. So yeah, semicolon on the end, and we are going to initialize this drop location to be now false. Okay. So let me see in my other project what we need to do. So the next thing that we need to do is basically declare a new function that is going to basically draw that background box behind our item, or basically it is going to draw a background box at that tiles where our item is supposed to be added. Okay, so let's go to our inventory grid widget header, and we need here to declare a new function. So we are going to name it draw background box. Okay, and we need to basically specify some parameters by ourselves. So the first one will be an item, so a item base item. The second one will be basically the color. So let me just type, and then I'm going to explain you. My tint color is basically a color that we want to specify. Basically, for example, when we are basically dragging our item on the top of some other item, in that situation our tint color needs to be red. So yeah, you basically get the point. From some checks we are going to get the condition where we are going to set the tint color to be red or the green. Okay, the next one is basically geometry. Okay, and it is we are going to name it allotted geometry. Okay, the next thing is basically f vector 2d, and that will be top left corner. Okay, so basically top left corner. The next thing that we need to specify will be f slate window element list. Okay, and we are just going to type out draw elements. Okay, so integer 32. The next one is layer ID, and basically we are going to set it to be a constant. Okay, so I'm not going to explain all of the parameters. I'm going to basically again later explain this item, this tint color, this top left corner, and that is basically it. Okay, so now let's just create a definition for that draw background box function. The first thing that we are going to do is basically create an F slate brush, and I'm going to call it box brush, and I'm going to get that box brush, and I'm going to get this dot draw s, and we need to type equals, and from the E slate brush draw type we need to get a box. So basically we need to draw a box. Okay, so the next thing that we need to basically specify is the size of that background box that we are drawing. So that will be a type of f vector to the box size. Okay, so the x value of this box size will be basically we are getting the dimensions of this item, and basically we are getting the x value of these dimensions, and now we need to multiply that by tile size from our inventory component. So tile size. And for the second value of our f vector to the variable, we need basically here to multiply the y value of our dimensions of our item with our inventory tile size. Okay. The next thing that we need basically to declare will be a position of that box, and that will be a type of f int point, because like I said, we are using the f int point for our tiles where our items are going to be added. So I'm going to name it box position. Okay, and I'm going to basically get this dragged item top left tile, and I'm going to get the x value of that dragged item top left tile, and I'm going to multiply that by the tile size. Okay, so the tile size, and now we need to basically do the same process for the second value of our EF int point, but here we need the y value of our dragged item top left tile. The next thing that we need to basically do is to declare the fpaint geometry, and I'm going to name it paint geometry. Okay, so we need to type equals allotted geometry dot to paint geometry, and basically the first thing that we need to pass in is this box size. The next thing that we need to basically pass in will be f slate layout transform. Okay, so just like that, and we need to get this top left corner, and we need to add it with box position. So basically this top left corner is going to be the starter coordinates of our inventory. Okay, and the last thing actually is basically we are going to make that box. So we need to type f slate draw element, and then we need to make a box, and then that function is going to take in some of the parameters. The first parameters will be this out draw elements. Okay, the second one will be this layer ID. The next one will be basically this paint geometry, and the next one will be basically this box brush, and don't forget this ampersand sign, that is very important. The next thing is basically f slate draw effect to be none, and I think that f slate, actually not f slate but e slate draw effect, so none. And the last thing is basically my tint color. Okay, so now we have successfully created the draw background box, and don't guys don't worry if you don't understand this draw background box function. This is basically some kind of the default way that you can basically draw your box. So don't worry if something is unclear. You can basically always find documentation where you're going to learn more about those functions, so you get the point. Now we need to go, so let me see my other project. We need to go inside our native paint function. Okay, so right here, and the first thing that we are going to do is basically we are going to check if our drop location is basically true, and if it's true, we are going basically to declare a new variable that will be basically our item that we are currently dragging. So we are just going to type equals cast, and then the class that we are casting to is an item base, and now we need basically now we need a reference to that item that we are currently dragging. So we can do that by getting the drag payload, but here in the native paint we can't actually get the payload, and we need to get that payload from the other functions. So yeah, you get the point. The thing that we are going to do is basically we are going to declare a new variable that will be a type of u object, object, and that will be dragged payload. So just like that. And the thing that we are going to do is go to our inventory grid widget .cpp, and inside our native on drag enter function. So where it is actually native on drag enter, we are going to type here. We are going to get this dragged payload, and we are going to paste that dragged payload equals this in operation, and then from that in operation we are going to get the payload. So yeah. The next thing that we are going to do whenever our native on drag leave function is getting triggered, we are just going to set that dragged payload to be a null pointer. So we are not dragging on the top of our inventory grid widget, and now we need to set our dragged payload to be a null pointer, and now we need to use that dragged payload as a reference to our cast for our item that we are currently dragging. Okay, so you get the point, and let me take a look in my other project. So if now we need to do another check, and we need basically to do a check for is room available for payload, and we need to check for that item, and if room is basically available for a payload, we are going to call this draw background box function. Okay, so we are going to basically for the first parameter we are going to pass in the item. The next one is basically a color. So basically if we have enough room at that specified place for our item, we are just going to pass in the green color. Okay, so 0.0, 0.0, 1.0, 0.0, and for the opacity 0.25. The next thing is basically to pass in this allotted geometry. So like I mentioned, it is we are just going to override that parameter, and it's not important. That is the reason why I didn't explain it earlier. The top left corner that we are going to pass in is this top left corner. So it is basically the starter coordinates of our of our inventory. Okay, so yeah, the next thing is to pass in out the draw elements, and we are also going to override that parameter. And the next thing is to also override our layer ID parameter. So those are parameters that we have overridden, and they are not actually that important. So we are just basically overriding them, and that is the reason why I didn't mention them. Like I said, for the default behavior, we need to pass them in. Okay, so yeah, in order to get the behavior that we want. And if we don't have enough room available for our payload at that specified place, we are just going to call that function again, but we are going to get the red color as our background color. And I think that finally we can test it out. So let's just compile our code, and after that let's launch it. So actually I'm getting this error right here, and let's see what's wrong. Okay, so another thing that we need to do for our F-slate brush and our F-slate draw element, and then make a box, is basically here in the .build.cs we need to add two new strings. So the first one will be basically a string, and that will be just slate. And the second one will be basically the slate core. And now if I basically just compile my code, let's see if there's any errors. There's not actually, so yeah, that's a cool thing. Now we can finally launch our Unreal Engine, and hopefully I think that now we have successfully created that last feature that we needed for this course. Okay, so let's just basically pick one of my items, and if I try to basically drag it somewhere else, you will see this red box as a background box. But if I basically drop that item, we will see this red background box. And let's see why is that. Why we are getting that behavior. Okay, so I found what was the problem. So here in the native on drop, we need to basically that drop location, we need to initialize it to be a false and not to a true, because we have dropped something, and now we are initializing it to be false. And whenever it is a false, it is not going to draw any background box. So yeah, that was the problem of that behavior. Sorry about that. My concentration has decreased. Yeah, you get to the point. And now let's finally test it out to see if we are getting the behavior that we want. So I'm going to pick one of my items, I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it. Okay, so the cool thing, we have actually succeeded, and if you take a closer look, you will see that we are getting some kind of validation if we can basically drop that item that we are dragging at that place or not. So yeah, that's the cool thing that we have did. And basically, like I said, this is the last feature for this entire course that we had to do. I just want to basically congratulate you that you have made this far. I want to basically tell you that you have did incredible work, and basically this course wasn't for beginners, because there were many complex things and many complex calculations. So yeah, and basically, if anything is clear, please guys feel free to reach to us. So you can do that by dropping a comment below this video, or basically you can reach to us now throughout our Discord server. So yeah, we have basically finished our spatial inventory system. I want to basically give all the credits to Raid's channel that did amazing work about creating this system. I'm just here I was just here to basically to recreate this system with you, and I was there to basically just explain some things. So yeah, all credits goes to him. I want to thank you guys for amazing support that you gave to us throughout this course. I just want to say that that is giving us more motivation to record even better courses and the tutorials in the future. So yeah, I think that there's not anything else to say. So don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to join to our Discord server, don't forget to drop a like, and the most important thing, if anything is unclear, feel free to reach to us. So see you guys in the next course or tutorial. See you!